Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the weekly meeting for the Plano West Rotary Club. Today is Tuesday, August 17th, and I am your president, Alex Johnson. I'm going to turn it over to our past president and Sergeant of Arms, Steve Lawton. Take it away, Steve.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. I'd like to welcome everybody today. A little bit of sunshine this morning, maybe some rain this afternoon. Welcome to Texas, where the weather changes hourly. So brags are open. I'm going to give Kent Stone an opportunity to start off brags. Kent,
I would
go ahead.
certainly, thank you, Steve. Certainly brags for having the opportunity to spend a week with all my grandkids, towing them and spinning them around the boat in circles, never ever ending for 40 to 50 miles at a time. Lake of the Ozarks. It was a great time with the family. And the second item is the continued progress that we have with polio. The numbers and the reports have been extremely good in recent weeks, frequently with no reported wild cases. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
It was awesome. Appreciate it, Kent. Glad to hear you're hanging in there too. Mr. James Thomas, you usually have some words of wisdom to share.
Okay, Steve,
today?
You've obviously confused me with someone else, okay? Because I am not he. However, this is not a brag. This is a big thank you. I'd just like to thank my friend, Fred, for being there to babysit Benton Hall. Fred, I can't thank you enough. Benton needs a babysitter, okay? So I appreciate what you do for our Rotary Club by taking care of Benton. Love you, Benton Hall.
Love you, Judy. Where are you, man?
Benton, would you like to provide any rebuttal or you on?
I'm gonna do a brag if you like.
Yeah, I don't think he's on. I don't see him. Fred, would you like to elaborate?
No, Ben wants to do a brag, Steve.
Yeah, Benton's right next to
Benton's right next to
Fred.
you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Excuse me.
I am, like all of us, so sorry about what's going on in Afghanistan. I want to brag about my son who served at Kandahar Air Force Base for a couple of years, and my nephew who's spent several seasons over there. And we did things right up to a point, and I brag on that.
Fred or Glenn, anybody there at the Rick Owls want to brag?
I'm kind of excited to talk about Brenda Taylor today because she was very dear to my heart. And David, I know you miss her, but I really feel sorry for Harrison and Spencer talking about grandchildren because they mean the world to me, and I know they meant the world to Brenda.
Ken? Anybody else at Rick Owls want to brag? Okay. Let's see here. Joanna Snowden, would you like to brag?
Yep, they're started.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sorry I had my hands wet. I had to unmute. Yeah, I finished all my knitting projects and time to start on another.
Awesome. I'm going to try and not assassinate this name. Sachimo Kalinda. Would you like to brag? You're muted. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry. Our country had an election, and we have a new president in Zambia. At least it was a peaceful. We have a few people that were killed, but just a few. Everything is okay. Zambia has a new president by the name of Hichilema Hakainde. That's my brag for the day.
Thank you, sir. Gary Busing.
I beg your pardon?
Gary Busing, would you like to brag?
You're muted, Gary.
Go ahead, Gary.
Okay, there. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah.
no brag today. I've got people in my house doing work in here. So I planned on being at the meeting today, but I have to stay here because my wife decided to go to her sister's for the week. So,
Lucky.
and I'm gonna be talking later on anyway. So
Okay.
no brags today.
President Alex, turning it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Steve, and everybody for telling us the great things that has going on. Now, what I'm going to ask is our wise member, James Thomas. He's going to lead us in the prayer.
Thank you, Alex. Dear gracious Father, we come to you again. First of all, thanking you for the many blessings, and certainly one of those blessings, the fact that we are actually here today, because people who woke up this morning, a lot of them are not here. We pray, God, that you would continue to lead us down the path in which you would have us walk. And we pray that you would guide us through that path, because far too often we want to carry and walk our own path. Dear gracious Lord, lead us down the path that you want us to. A special prayer for those families who are in Haiti, and also those families who are in Afghanistan, as aforementioned. We pray that you will watch over them and bless them and take care of them. In your blessing, Jesus Christ, thank you very much, and we pray for these blessings. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, James. Now we're going to have Molly, who is at the restaurant. She is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Molly. And thank you, everybody, for being here. What I'm going to do now is, for the foundation moment, instead of having a little video, I get a lot of questions from people. Why do we care about this foundation? I'm really interested in what's going on in Plano locally. So I kind of want to give a big view of how the foundation works. You see in the slide, not last Rotary year that just ended in June, but the one before, the Rotary Foundation spent $362 million. When you look at that, as you can see from the slide, 152 million of it was for End Polio Now, because as we know, that is Rotary's global service project to eradicate polio. And we're this close. And depending on how old you are, you probably know people that had polio. And so our goal is to eliminate that. That's our massive project that we've been working on since the 80s. Well, another area where the Rotary Foundation spends money is Rotary Peace Centers. There's 7 of them around the world, and any non-Rotarian can apply to be a Rotary Peace Fellow. Actually, us as a Rotary Club, we do those nominations, and Rotary basically pays for a master's program for somebody in the different areas of peace, and they get to go to the different peace centers that are all over the world, and they spend about $4.5 million. Well, then if you look at the third area, Rotary Club grants. Half the money that the Rotary Foundation spends is used by Rotary clubs, because the foundation is our foundation. And so in this year, 151 million grants were given to Rotary clubs all over the world. And they're either through district grants, disaster recovery grants, or global grants, where the big chunk comes from. And so, as you can see, basically almost half of the Rotary Foundation is used locally based on what your club is doing. Now, when we eliminate polio, which we're really close, I think theoretically, Kent, the soonest we can eliminate it is 2 more years, right? Because it has to go 3 years with no cases before we can say it's eliminated. And so
Yes.
we're still going to be working on it until it's truly, truly eradicated, but we're so close. Well, now when we talk about the Rotary Club grants, our club and a lot of clubs take part in district grants. And that's where, based on our giving to the foundation, we're eligible to receive district grants. And our club is 1 and 2 of what we've been doing for 4 years. Based on our giving to the foundation, we receive district grants that we use for our high school program scholarships, of which we're going to talk about today, and then for Camp Ryla, of which we have Rylarians that we've actually sponsored on the call. Now, this slide shows what other District 5810 clubs have used their district grants for, and there's a lot. Every club has different focuses that they use the Rotary Foundation to impact their local community. As you know, we have 66 Rotary clubs in District 5810, 6 in Plano alone. So there's a lot of needs that the Rotary Foundation is helping locally. And I think that's important. A lot of people think the Rotary Foundation is national and global. No, as you can see, we do a lot in our district using the Rotary Foundation. Let's talk about our club. We have 2 scholarship programs. One's Camp Ryla, and the other one is our high school scholarship program. Camp Ryla, we spend $2,800. It's a scholarship to sponsor 4 students. So it's basically 700 students. Well, then we also have our high school scholarship program, of which we give out 3 $2,000 scholarships for a total of 6. And then recently we've been trying to keep 2,000 in reserve because we don't know if we're actually going to be able to raise the money to fund our scholarships. So we try to keep, just fiscal management, at least so we could give 1 or 2, meaning if we have nothing in the bank, at least we have 2,000 and we could give out either 4 $500 scholarships or 2 1,000, which we've done in the past. And so when you add up how what we do in our scholarships program, it's about $10,800 we need. Well, how do we pay for it? Well, our Pecans fundraiser. We've been doing that. That's a club tradition. That's where we look for every club member to sell at least a box of pecans. And we have a lot of vendors, or not vendors, but partners in the community that sell it. When it's all said and done, after we pay our expenses, we make $4,225 from selling pecans. And all of that goes towards our scholarship program. Well, then when we're blessed, we have David Brooks in honor of his mom, which we're going to talk about today. They provide us a $2,000 scholarship as well. And so as you could tell, that only comes up to $6,200. So we have a deficit every year of $4,575 that we need to raise money for so we could provide our planned scholarships. Well, we meet that through our district grants. When, as a club, we give on average a $120 per member, we're eligible for a district grant. At the high end, it's $3,500, which is what it's been for the last 2 years. In the past, I've seen it as low as $3,000. It's really a discretion of our district and how much they're going to give to each club. And it really depends on how many clubs apply for it. Majority of clubs don't meet the per capita, so they're not eligible for a district grant. For the last 4 years, we have been. So we're getting that, so we use that in order to help us cover our scholarship programs. And then the other way is just from taking it out of our budget. So obviously, when we have these outside sources helping us, like the Brenda Taylor Scholarship, as well as our pecans and this district grant, it helps us fund our scholarship program. The other aspect is the global grant process. That's where the big money comes from. Because as you can see, the district grant's only $3,500. Rotary didn't give out $151 million last year through district grants. That's just part of it. On the district grant, let's use the example we have now. We have a district grant team, which it's called the ICU Homeless ID team. And Catherine leads it, and club members James Thomas and Joy Hinkleman are on it. We also have the city of Plano, as well as another nonprofit agency on this committee. Listen, I'm just using ballpark numbers. Let's say it was a $100,000 project. Well, the way the global grant process works for our district, how do we pay for it? Well, the club has to raise 30% of the funds for the project, and then the Rotary Foundation provides 70%. So once again, you see how the Rotary Foundation is providing us the ability of funding local projects. And if you apply for a global grant, local projects in the large way. And so, for example, 30,000 of it would come from our district, and then 40,000 of it comes from the World Fund, which is, and all that's part of the Rotary Foundation. So basically, when you apply for a global grant, which the smallest is 30,000, the foundation is putting up 70%. They want the club to have skin in the game. In our district, they require us to put up 30%. That's basically how it works out. So when we do a project, you got to fundraise for it. Now, the fundraising funds are going to the Rotary Foundation, but they're earmarked for the project. And we can do as many global grant projects as we can get approved. The limitations are the smallest a project size could be is 30,000. And then the largest that the World Fund will contribute is 400,000. So basically we could apply for $1 million global grant. Granted, we'd have to fundraise 300,000, but 70% of it's coming from the Rotary Foundation. And so our global grant team, when we apply and get approved, we will be the very first global grant in our district where the need is locally. Typically, all the global grants in our district, the money's either going internationally or they're going to Native American reservations like the Navajo Water Project. That's a global grant. But our project will be the very first time that we're using a global grant to impact locally. And we're doing it in a large way, in a sustainable way, and partnering with the school district, the city, and other agencies. And so the reason I explain this, because a lot of people don't understand the purpose of the foundation. They just hear give to it. And I've heard somebody else say, oh, you're giving it to Rotary International. No, Rotary International is a 501c4 like we are, and it's a member organization. The Rotary Foundation is a 501c3. It's our 501c3. And that's how Rotary does the great deeds that it does. And part of that is we use the foundation for what we're going to talk about today for a scholarship program. And so hopefully that helps people understand why we talk about the foundation and how it ties into a Rotary Club. That's how we fund our projects. Oh, also another component on a global grant, whenever you apply for a global grant, you have to have another Rotary Club in another country partnering with you. And they have to contribute 15% of your fundraising. So this 30,000 isn't all from us. It comes from that other Rotary Club. It also comes from just whoever you could get the foundations from. A lot of times when you do global grants, other Rotary Clubs will participate with you as well. So that's why they're called a global grant. Not that you're sending your money globally, it's that Rotary requires a partnership of Rotary Clubs in different countries. And I've already been contacted by a Rotary Club in the Bahamas, and we've had multiple conversations about they will support our project if we will support theirs. And we've had other people in our district find Rotary Clubs in Canada and also New Zealand that are interested. So that's what makes these global grants global, because it forces a partnership of Rotary Clubs in different countries, and they also have to be involved. So it's a really enriching opportunity. So for the Rotary moment, that's a little explanation of the Rotary Foundation and why it's so important to our club, because it is our foundation. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Roxana, who's going to do the member moment. You're muted.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay, welcome everybody to our membership moment. And this month is very special. We have a lot of 1-year-olds. A year ago, these people became Rotarians in our club. And I see James Thomas, happy anniversary. You're 1-year-old in our club. Dolly Thomas, Camille, Jennifer, and Aretha. All of you, happy birthday.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary, everybody. Well, and thank you. Thank you, everybody who joined our club. You know, last Rotary year, we inducted 49 people. So we're going to have anniversaries every month of a lot of new members. And that's what allowed us to achieve all the great things that we've achieved over the last year or so. I'm really happy for those with their Rotary anniversary. Okay, what I'm going to go through now is our club business. In a couple days, you're going to get a notice from club runner, I guess, Zane. We have a new membership applicant, Janelle Berry Cook. When you get, the board's already been contacting her. When you get this notice from Zane, as you know, we'll give her the warm welcome that we do. Call, email, text, and wish her to our club. Rotary waivers. We've got 11 left, 11 club members. You know who you are. Fill it out. It's electronic. It's easy. We'd like to try to get everybody in advance. Our monthly newsletter. Look in your spam if you haven't received it. It went out on the 1st of the month, and it's from the email info@planowestrotary.com. It talks about all our upcoming projects. It's a great way of knowing what's happening, whether you're at the meeting or not. And you can forward it to your friends if they want to serve, because that's the purpose of it. This isn't a membership recruitment email. It's not a tell our members what's going on, because we do that every Monday. This is strictly telling people what service projects we have in the upcoming month. Also, if you haven't, those that you look for your Rotary magazine, in the center fold, our club has a 4-page article in it. I've been told by multiple people, and I verified it with somebody that's been in Rotary over 40 years, Plano West Rotary Club is the only Rotary Club in District 5810 that's ever been highlighted by the Rotary magazine. And so that, I didn't believe it at first, because you always hear those things, but I verified it, and that's pretty amazing. And that's what you guys are doing. That's why they highlighted us, is the service we're doing in the community. So read the article. That link gives you the online version. Tell your friends about it. We're a service club. Let people know our Rotary Club is about serving the community. And here's a great professionally done magazine article that talks about it. Each meeting, I'm going to recruit for a different club committee chair. Last week, it was vocational service with Steve Watton. This week, it's going to be the registration committee. Everybody knows every service project we have somebody from the registration team. They show up. They handle registration, the t-shirts, the waivers, the check-in, and so on. Then they leave. They don't necessarily work on the project, but they're in and out. And so it's really easy to do, because you know when it's going to be happen. You just show up there for 15 minutes. They need more people on their committee because we do so many service projects. So contact Laura Johnson. That's her phone number, and she can tell you what to do and how to do it. And you can be part of their team. And it's important. Don't think you have to go to every service project. There's a team of club members, and you guys pick and choose which one you want to go. So this isn't you're at every single one. Also, I want to stress about 50% of our club has not paid their dues. They were due at the end of July. So please look in your email. If you haven't written a check or did PayPal, you haven't paid your dues. And so that's a 4-way test thing. Without dues, we can't run the club, and we have very low dues. So we need every penny. So please go to that link, pay your dues. I want to also encourage everybody on this Saturday. Every month is the District Leadership Roundtable. That's where the district leadership, club presidents, and they talk about important things for the Rotary District. Well, anybody can attend. And so I encourage you to go. Now, it's physically in Irving, but there's also a Zoom component. So if you go on the district website, which I gave the link to it, you'll see the Zoom link for it so you can participate. In fact, I'm going to be Zooming in, and they've asked for me to give, I think, a 10-minute presentation about our Rotary Community Corps. So I'd love to have more people there. So at least it shows that I have a little support in my club. But regardless of whether I'm speaking, you really should go so you can hear what's going on with all the other Rotarians. We have about 2,400 Rotarians in the North Texas area, over 66 clubs. So it's a great way. It's free, and it's opportunity to know what's going on. And last, and the worst, I have in big red, just notified this morning, and I was on the phone with the organizers, the Plano Balloon Festival has been canceled. The board, the Plano Balloon Festival board, they had an emergency meeting. They unanimously made that decision. And the reason why, they're really targeted towards kids, and kids can't be vaccinated. And they did not feel that it was the right thing to promote a bunch of kids together, you know, doing things where we're currently at in the pandemic with the Delta variant. So for those that don't know, this is the third time in 4 years that the Balloon Festival's been canceled. The first time 4 years ago, it was forced because of weather. And then last year and this year because of COVID. Fortunately, they are an amazing organization, very fiscally responsible, very community conscious. That's why they've been able to survive having their event canceled 3 out of 4 years. Just to give an example, South by Southwest, they canceled once last year and they had to file bankruptcy. So just, to me, I use that as an example about how amazing the Plano Balloon Festival organization and their board of directors and how they manage their finances. So to move on from those bad news, so it's already been removed from our website, and we're going to notify the volunteers who have signed up for us already. Last Saturday, we had our final COVID awareness block walking. And so I don't know the results of it, but I think we had, about 15 volunteers I heard, and they were out there. You know, this was a partnership with the city of Plano. They funded and actually designed the door hangers that we presented to the homes. The Plano asked us to target the Hispanic communities because they had the lowest vaccination rate. And I said this many times, the city said because of our project that we've been doing for about 3 months, we raised the Hispanic vaccination rate by 9%. Well, that's a direct impact on lives, people, and keeping people out of the hospitals and getting them back to work. So that's pretty awesome that our club's been able to do that. Also, this Saturday, we're going to have an orientation for a new project that's helping those with disability. This is a 30-minute Zoom call to kind of let people know what's going on. We were originally thinking we're going to get 5 people that were interested in it, just not knowing. I think last time I looked, there was like 8 or 9. If you want to help those with disabilities from your house, just go to this orientation. Doesn't cost you anything. Sign up, hear about it. Preksha is our team leader on it. And I'm pretty excited about it because it's also not just for those with disabilities, it's for seniors and veterans as well. It's basically if someone's lost, they have a free app and they're going to get a guide that they can look at, listen to, and that guide's going to help them get to where they need to go. And this actually started in the city of Austin, and we're going to help get it going in North Texas. Our first meal program for the school year is at Armstrong on the 24th. And of course, our amazing club members, James and Catherine, are heading that up. And so sign up for that. We do have about a week, but I think we need, I haven't looked at that one, but we always need volunteers. So sign up for it. Also, at the end of the month, we have our PALS training. That's Plano Overnight Warming Station. We are training volunteers to work in, not work, but the volunteer in the Plano Overnight Warming Station for those with homelessness. When we have our freezing nights, this overnight warming station gives them a place to be safe. And so we're going to be a part of that as well. We have our first organized shoe drive event. It's every other week. It's going to be on September 4th. It's on a Saturday. Hall, and Julia is the overall project chair, but she's going to Austin, what, tomorrow? I think. And Hall is the co-chair of it, and she's handling the in-portion part. So for the most part, when we did this last year, it was probably a 50-75% high school students. Is that true, Julia? But non-high school students are welcome. If you like working with the youth, sign up. You're in and out in 2 hours. It's a lot of fun, and it's in support of our shoe drive project, which the last, if you click that link, you can donate your used shoes, men, women, old, new, big, small, drop them off at the Wellness Center, which our amazing club member, Joy Hinkleman, she is the executive director of it. Between Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, you can drop them off. And if you have a senior that's in need, maybe you'll find out how the Wellness Center can help them. And so that covers it for our club business. And with this, I'm going to turn this over to Gary. You're up, Gary. Do you have slides to show, or are you going to talk?
No, I don't have any slides. Okay. I just
put
see
together
you.
some information on Brenda for you.
Right. I can't see who joined us. Do we have any of the 21 scholarship recipients in attendance?
I see Julia only.
Okay. I can't see who we have there. So, okay, as Alex mentioned, this is going to be about our scholarship program with an emphasis on scholarship dedicated in honor of Brenda Taylor, who passed away in 2014. David, her son, will speak, as Alex mentioned, later on in the program. And I will also introduce who the 3 scholarship winners are. As chairman of the scholarship committee, I'd been asked to give a brief history of our scholarship program and how it's evolved, since we have so many new members and most of them have no idea about how this program works. First of all, I asked our senior members of the club how long we've been giving out scholarships. No one seemed to actually know when we originally started. We do know, though, it is the second longest program we've been doing behind the Balloon Festival. And I guess ours is the most continuous, since we haven't had the Balloon Festival the last few years. Basically, our program gives scholarships to Plano seniors who plan on going to higher education. I've been in charge of the program for the past 15 or 16 years. I was volunteered by Steve Lawton, who said, let Gary do it. He isn't doing anything. So just a little mention to all the new Rotarians. If you volunteer to chair a program, be sure it's one you enjoy, because you may be doing it for a very long time. So, okay, brief history. When I took over the program, we pretty much followed this rule: 3 scholarships, 1 for each of the Plano's high schools: Plano Senior, Plano West, and Plano East. We did most of everything by mail back then. It was a 1-page application. We emailed it to the counselors at each of the schools, and they would pass it out to the students and make it available to them. Back then, as Alex said, we used to give $1,000, ever since I've been doing it, for each of the scholarships. That worked out pretty good, except I remember one year where we had Plano East. They had like 80% of all the applications. It was just somebody got a hold of it and had everybody in one class apply for it. And it made it a little difficult, because we had back then to give it to 1 for each of the schools. And we may have 2 applicants from one of the schools and 15 from another. But we'd sort through it and we'd make copies. They'd have to send the application back along with 2 reference letters, usually from teachers or their minister or their employer, telling how great they are. We'd pass out. I'd have my committee. I'd ask for volunteers. We'd pass it out. we'd all vote on our top 10, we'd read them all, our top 15, I would rank them, and then we'd interview usually 10. And we usually did it at the Greek Isle back then on a Saturday. And that's how we'd end up with, after we did our meetings with the students, we would vote on it, and that's how we'd come up with it. Our program is a reimbursement program. This is before I started, but I was told that they gave out scholarships on need in the very beginning. Well, it turned out some of these kids that we gave scholarships to, they needed the money, but they couldn't ever get enough money together to actually enroll in college. So they ended up spending the money. I don't know when that changed, but that's why we changed it to a reimbursement plan where they show that they are enrolled in school and they paid the money. Now, our program's evolved over the years. Counselors were replaced by our scholarship application being put into Aviance, Plano's high school students' website. It got lost in there for a couple of years, but it finally worked its way out to where kids could find it. It's a very difficult system, and we had no way of doing anything. One of the other major changes, a few years back, we increased our scholarships from $1,000 to $2,000 a year due to inflation. Another big change was COVID. Because of the past 2 years, we've gone from doing the in-person interviews to doing Zoom interviews. Makes it a lot easier for both the students and us to do it. Alex, our president, really brought our program into the 21st century when he put everything online where we didn't have to wait for it to come back. And the latest change that we've gone to the last couple of years, I want to preface this first of all. When we talk to these kids, one of the questions we always asked them was, what do you know about Rotary? Well, most of them knew nothing about Rotary. Maybe the smart ones would go look it up and they'd come back, oh yeah, it's a service organization, service before self, the pat answer. But it really, we weren't getting the people that we feel like that we should get these scholarships for. So we decided a couple of years back to where we weren't going to give it to one to each school. We were going to apply it to applicants that were involved in Rotary one way or another, either through Interact, RILA, or their families in Rotary. And the emphasis was on Plano Senior High, since we have a tie to that. It seems to work out fairly well. Excuse me. I thought I heard someone. The three, oh, well, I'll talk about Brenda real quick. She always loved to do these interviews back then. She'd always raise her hand when I asked for volunteers, and she really enjoyed doing that. And we had many, many discussions after the meeting on who to pick. She always put her 2 cents in worth. Two cents in. I'm going to talk about the three. I'll let her son talk more about Brenda. I'll talk about our 3 scholarship winners for 2021. The first one is Caden Glasscock. He was an active volunteer in his community, was the 2021 senior class president of Plano Senior High, and was also a 2020 RILA recipient. He is on his way. I'm not sure if he's there yet, but he was on his way to the University of Oklahoma this week getting set up. One thing about him that Alex told me, his grandfather was a past president of Plano Rotary. The second scholarship winner is a lady named Julie Johnson. She's participated in the first virtual youth exchange to leading Interact Club. She was a RILA participant, runs her own social media agency, and was president of the Plano West Senior High School Interact Club. Julie will be majoring in marketing at San Diego State University. And she had some trouble getting out to her college, which I won't go into. Julie, her mother is Laura Johnson, as y'all know, is a Plano West Rotary member. And her father, now I can't remember exactly what he does, but I do know he serves in Rotary somewhere. Oh yeah, it's our president, Alex. And then the last one is our 2021 Brenda Taylor Scholarship recipient is Julia Lynn. She founded the Clark High School Interact Club, was president of the Plano Senior High School Interact Club, Rotary District 5810 Interact Governor, official Camp Raleigh District 5810 alumnus, the Rotary District 5810 North Texas four-way test speech contestant winner, and choose to continue her service above self by joining the Plano West Rotary Club. She'll be going to the University of Texas at Austin and doing a double major in business. And she actually joins another one of our members who was the Brenda Taylor recipient last year, Bianca Weimers. So we have two. And I think our scholarships, by doing this, focusing on that, we're really putting our money for people that know about Rotary and are very active in that. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to David for him to talk about his mom.
Hey, thanks, Gary.
Uh-huh.
Hey, folks, I appreciate the opportunity to join you guys today and say a little something about my mom. I know some of you knew her, some of you didn't. And for those who knew her, some of this may not be new, but I'll just go through some bullet points I have. I have to write things down. I'm very emotional. I get that from her, and I might tear up, but we'll go through. So my mom was born in September of 1943. Her maiden name was Brenda Rice. She grew up in a small farming town, Belzona, Mississippi. She was the middle child of 7. Her father was a game warden and sheriff's deputy, and her mom managed the home and ran 7 kids. She did do a little college back in the I guess the early 60s. Just to kind of frame this, she grew up in the 50s. She was a 50s kid, going to sock hops, listening to Elvis Presley, and that was kind of her thing. Like I said, she did a little college, but eventually she and 3 of her sisters, or I guess she and 2 of her sisters, moved to Fort Worth back in the mid 60s, and she eventually met my father. My brother and I were born in the late 60s. We moved around a little bit. He was an electrical engineer and worked in the defense industry. We moved around between California, Fort Worth, Dallas, and settled in Richardson in 1974. And that was when she began a career at Rockwell International. She started as a photographer. She would take pictures for Rockwell, some of their media presentations, some of their internal publications. I don't know that she ever did kind of any advertising, but it was a lot of internal stuff mainly. She eventually worked her way into the contracts department, and after 20 years, she was helping negotiate contracts at Rockwell. During all of that time, my parents divorced. She moved my brother and I to Plano, which was, I think, very fortuitous. It was at a time when Plano was taking off. We got the advantage of the strong school system in Plano, and all of the folks that remain closest to me were people I met in Plano. And I think we're a step above. Anyway, during that time, my mom, she raised 2 kids. She had a full-time career. She would work, the random odd job to help out. And she started going to night school. She spent most of the 80s going to night school. She never graduated. She probably had 1 semester left when she stopped in the early 90s. I think she was okay with that. She knew that, she had done, all but walk across the stage. She was fine with that. But she knew that education meant a lot, which is why I think she was, she really liked helping out with the fundraising for the scholarship program and the Rotary Club. Let's see. One thing I wanted to say that probably those folks in the club that knew her is that my mom liked challenges. She always thought there was a way to get something done with the right amount of effort and attitude. She loved taking on projects, doing the research, making the calls, and then getting things done. And I think it's, as Gary read through the accomplishments of the past scholarship recipients and of Julia's, I think those are attitudes that she shares with those recipients. Julia's has accomplished a lot, has played a role in a lot of lives with her work through Rotary and its affiliates. I think she would be very proud of that. Anyway, my mom was a very strong person. I learned a lot from her. I know she meant a lot to a lot of people. Her positive attitude was infectious, and she was a natural leader. She could get people to do things. Anyway, those are my thoughts on my mom. If anybody there at Greek Isles or on the Zoom call, we're close to her and have some thoughts about her, I would appreciate. I'd appreciate hearing them.
Benton Hall, I'm going to pick on you. You followed her as president. So she trained you to accomplish all the amazing things you did. Tell us about her.
Well, I remember Brenda as being so gracious and just a beautiful Christian woman. It was fun serving under her. And I think we all fell in love with her second husband, David. I didn't know your dad, but I did know Mr. Taylor, and he is a piece of work. I hope you enjoy as much as we have.
I think all of his family would agree. Ed was a character.
He was a character.
I think Ed and Brenda complimented each other because Ed, one thing that you didn't mention was in 2000, Brenda went to work at the county clerk's office, and Ed encouraged her to run for county clerk, and she served 1 term, but she really surprised a lot of people. But one thing that I liked about Brenda was she was a hands-on person. I mean, she worked Balloon Fest and everything, and I remember we had the funnel cake trailer stored at it was literally a farmyard on Bill Donahue's property. And we went out to clean up the trailer because it wasn't in the best of shape being out there in the barnyard and so forth. And it started to rain and we looked like 2 drowned rats before it was over with, but we really enjoyed it and everything. But talk about a servant leader. She definitely put other people's needs before hers. And there's one phrase that sticks in my mind, and I don't know if it was Brenda that came up with it. David, maybe you can tell me. A random act of kindness, because that was all about Brenda. And I think anybody that you run into, probably Stacy Kemp that worked with her, is now the county clerk. She could probably echo that. And there's one thing really about talking about a strong person. Unfortunately, she lost her battle to cancer, but it wasn't one time she faced it, it was 2 times. But she, like Benton said, very gracious, never did complain. And I just looked at Ed when I found out the second time that the cancer reoccurred, that, you know, she's been through enough, and you know, it really couldn't have happened to a better person. I mean, it was devastating. Lastly, she loves Spencer and Harrison. She'd bring them to the clubs. And David, you married up because Pam was a charm, I guarantee. She was right by Brenda's side. But I have the utmost respect for Brenda, and of course Ed too. And we've had some other couples in Rotary that have pulled their weight, and then some too. But happy to have known Brenda.
I'd like to talk a little bit about Brenda.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. Brenda, I knew for a long time before she got involved in Rotary, because I'm in the HVAC business, and my company was just down the street from where Ed worked. So we bought a lot of stuff through Ed when he was there, and that's how I met Brenda. I was really excited when she got into our club, because back then we didn't have nearly as many ladies in the club, and she was a breath of fresh air. Her attitude and stuff. One of the things I remember about Brenda is she's one of the people that helped establish our relationship with schools, in particular Barron. Plus also, I believe she was the president that started donating books. I remember she used to every year donate a lot of books to schools, and she loved working with schools, and she encouraged us to get involved with a lot of the reading that we used to do in school before COVID came along, and working with students. So very fond memories of Brenda.
Thanks for that, Steve.
Yeah, I was just going to say that when I joined, I overlapped with Brenda maybe only a year or two. But one thing I do remember when she'd come into the meeting is she'd always, if she didn't have any, she's asking for pecans because she kept them in her trunk. Any chance she got to give somebody or sell somebody a bag of pecans, she's like, they're got to be in my trunk. I got to have some in my trunk. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And she would give those. I think it was it Steve that mentioned the random acts of kindness. That was one of her things. So if somebody, she had those pecans, and if somebody did something nice or did something well, she wanted to let them know that they had done that, and that you know, for whatever small impact that day, they made an impact on her, and she would give them a bag of pecans to show that. You know, I think about these young guys in grocery stores that are taking her bags out to her car, and she's handing them a bag of pecans. But you know, I'm sure it's something that stuck with them, and they still remember that to this day. Anyway, she had a great attitude, and like I said, I think it was infectious, and you know, she could get people to do things just from, you know, sheer, you know, force of personality sometimes, because that's you know, the way she approached things, positive attitude. Anyway, she, like I said, she was very involved with the with Rotary. She loved helping out with the scholarship program, and I was very honored when the Rotary named one of the scholarships after her. And a few years went by after she passed. I was involved with my career and a lot of things going on. I didn't really think about it, but once I thought about it, I think somebody called me and may have mentioned it, and it made me think that to honor her like you guys have, I would like to contribute to that scholarship. So this is my way of helping out with the Rotary and honoring my mom. And I thank you very much for letting me do that.
David, thank you very much for what you do for our club in your mom's name. I know she would be very, very, very proud of you. It's kind of funny you talked about the importance of pecans to her, knowing that pecans is part of the whole scholarship program. That's our, so it's kind of very apropos. I like that idea of using it as a random act of kindness. We actually had a service project last year that we called Random Acts of Kindness. I'm thinking like we need to do that again and actually add her name to it, because I didn't realize that was an important saying for her, because we do actually have a service project called that name where people just do random acts of kindness for it. So thank you for that new service project idea. One of the things that we do, and we're going to do this for you, in appreciation for your time and speaking to us, Plano West Rotary, we will donate $10 in your name to the Rotary Foundation, to the Polio Plus Fund, together with the 2-to-1 matching funds from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Your $10 is going to turn into $30, which is used to provide the polio vaccine for about 50 children. And everybody here has heard this before. So David, this is probably for you. Rotary is using its polio infrastructure globally to aid in the vaccination for COVID-19. Because even though our country, I think our statistics as a country is like 60%, for the world, it's about 4% vaccination rate. And that's where these infrastructure vaccination processes are helping those countries that don't have the benefit that we have here in America. So this donation is going to help both eradicate polio and help with trying to eradicate COVID-19. And so I do want to thank you. One thing I want to point out, if you caught what Gary said, well, Julia is our Brenda Taylor Scholarship recipient. And that's actually something we are very deliberate on who we choose. And she joined our Rotary Club. And Gary had alluded to last year, our Brenda Taylor Scholarship recipient was Bianca Weimer. And she also joined our Rotary Club. So our last 2 years, not only did they exhibit the qualities of your mother, and they're following through, and they joined Rotary as 18-year-olds, and they're continuing on. So I really know from everything I've learned about your mom, I know she would be very proud of her legacy and how you're help continuing it. So thank you again.
Thank you, Alex.
And you're welcome to volunteer with us. We have lots of service projects, and we always need more volunteers for you and your family. 80% of our volunteers are not Rotarians. And so we thrive on people like you helping make our community better. And I'm going to follow you up on that.
Please do.
All right, everybody, to close out our meeting next week, Deputy Superintendent, I think that's his title. Is that the right title, James, of your boss? Courtney Gober, he's going to speak to our club about enhanced wraparound services. So he's going to talk about more ways that Plano West Rotary can partner with Plano ISD. And knowing Courtney, James is going to be a big part of this discussion.
Yes, James will be a really big part of it.
So I know James has got a couple meetings between now and next week to prepare those slides and help figure out how we can help the district more. So if you care about Plano ISD, come listen to Deputy Superintendent talk about how we can continue our partnership with them. So with that, to close out our meeting, we are going to have Joanna is going to lead us in the four-way test.
The Rotary four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Number 1, is it the truth?
Truth.
Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Joanna. Rotary, everybody have a great week. It's raining, stay dry. If you didn't have an umbrella, sorry. Bye, everybody.
Bye.